Hello and thank you so much for joining us on this week's episode of Sport Pizza, where you get the absolute best, the ever exciting world of sports. My name is Brownson, one of your host, and lots of things to talk about. The African Cup of Nations, we've waited for it for a very long time, and it's finally here. And of course, we must give kudos to the host nations for Cameroon against all odds to still go ahead with the hosting of this tournament. And of course, in front of Paul Biya, the president of the country, they gave a very good performance in their first game, 2-1 victory over Burkina Faso. It was a hard-fought victory, must be said. And lots of challenges faced by some teams in this tournament. I mean, some people are still having issues of COVID restricting them having their best players, and Super Eagles not left out, as some players could not attend the tournament based injury and club engagement. Lots of things left, lots of questions to ask if the in-season tournaments for Africa is still the best for the continent. Well, this will generate lots of debates for a very long time. My name is Brownson Duwana. Let's take a very quick break. When we come back, Olakunle will make sense of lots of these issues making the rounds in the world of sports. Don't go away. My strike partner, Olakunle Philip, joins me at this time, and he'll be making sense of lots of the issues I've raised on the program. Kunle, good to have you on the program.
Yeah, thank you very much, Brownson. It's great to be here once again to talk sport. And just like you said, the African Cup of Nations against all expectations have kick-started, and we can see that some of the games have been played. I think for the Cameroonian game, it was a hard-hand victory for them. Vincent Abubakar, the ageless and striker, getting the important goals.
Is it really ageless? That's his fault.
No, Brownson, let's not take anything away from Vincent Abubakar. He's a striker who, for me, is very good, very sound. You know, you might not just be unfortunate not to getting goals for your at major competitions of that nature. I remember even Kwame Nwankwo. How many goals did the fantastic, the former African Footballer of the Year, Nwankwo scored at the African Cup of Nations? Absolutely nothing. He had no goals in the African Cup of Nations. So I think that Vincent Abubakar
All right, no doubt about that. But looking at the African Cup of Nations, there have been lots of talks and lots of things making the round. Now, if you could go back to the build-up of this show, we looked at some of the issues of club releasing players, FIFA involvement, saying that the in-season tournament is not very good. Before we look at some of the things happening in AFCON, but let's also look at some of the effects. Now, with all the things we've seen, can we say we have our best talent? Now, let's look at the fact that COVID have also restricted some players, like what we have in the Pharaohs of Egypt, their legendary goalkeeper, coach Hassan Elderi, included in Zamalek goal, as well as Zamalek goalkeeper could not make it because of COVID. Now, there's I think about 4 players in Senegal national team.
Even for the Senegalese, they have about 11 players, about 8 or thereabout players who are COVID-19, they are positive to COVID-19. So, Brownson, the most surprising news came from the organizers of the African Cup of Nations, talking about CAF. They said there is not going to be any postponement as far as the AFCON is concerned. That if you have 11 players, or more players are COVID-19 positive, the rest of the players should go on with the matches. That there's not going to be a postponement there. But I hope and pray that that does not happen. Just like the question you asked about the effect of the in-season having the tournament when the leagues are going on all over the world. I think that is really a big blow for both clubs and, of course, the countries, because I think Nigeria has been dealt a very big blow in this regard. Well, for all the other nations, talking about the other nations who are also competing in this tournament, I think they worked out the modalities very well, and then they have all the luxury of all their top players. If you can have players like Sadio Mane, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, and all of them, Mo Salah, being released by their top clubs, and these are very pivotal players to their respective clubs, and they are right now in the African Cup of Nations. I think I see no reason why we also cannot have our players. I think that if the NFF, the Nigerian Football Federation, had done their job well, I think that some of these players will have been released. Look at the Anki Panky, the pranks played by SSC Napoli, saying that Victor Moses was had COVID. Victor Osimhen, I beg your pardon, had COVID, and then when the tournament was about to start, they saw the intention of the player. He was injured initially. He said he had COVID, and then at some point in time, when the tournament was about to start, they said he had COVID again. And right now they are saying he's COVID-19 negative. He's returning to the club and he's going to play. So I think some of these things.
Yeah, I understand. I understand all the stakes. Now, if you look at the fact that Victor Osimhen's injury was a very severe one, and then we saw the reactions and the recuperation process. I mean, we know African football, we play more physical football in this part of the country, in this part of the world, and bringing Victor Osimhen into African Cup of Nations probably wouldn't have been best for business.
Yeah, I don't think it will have had an adverse effect whatsoever, because I think they said he's going to be playing with some guy. Brownson, let's not forget, when we watch the Italians here, it's also very physical and very competitive. You see the way the defenders are always at the heels of Victor Osimhen in most of the games, because he's a man that all the defenders in the Italian Serie A wants to stop because of his dangerous prowess when it comes to goal scoring in front, against the opponent. So having him to play in the African Cup of Nations might not have been a big deal as far as I'm concerned, because he's used to it, he's used to the physicality, and he's going to be using a guard on his face. So I think that this wouldn't have had an effect. But I think SC Napoli, by virtue of the fact that they've lost some important games since the injury of Victor Osimhen, yes. They've lost some games, and you begin to wonder why they're losing those games. And it's obvious that they are missing the services of Victor Osimhen. That is why they did everything humanly possible to ensure that he doesn't get to join the team. And then for some other players, I think I blame the NFF when we talk about Watford striker Emmanuel Dennis Bonaventure. The management of Watford really knew exactly what they're doing. They adhere strictly to the plan, because they. We were talking about this earlier.
I kind of disagree with you, because I don't think it was a plan, because, for instance, there was a window for national teams to invite players, and the team waited for that period. There was no invitation sent to Emmanuel Dennis. Now, it was after Victor Osimhen pulled out and some other key players pulled out that the invitation was sent to Dennis. And don't forget, that time Ismaila Sarr had already moved to Senegal.
Do you remember that even Sarr had issues with with Watford management as well? They were not willing to release him because they said he just came back from injury. But the Senegalese FA stood their ground and said, if he doesn't come to the country for proper checkup by their doctors, their physicians, that they will be taking the matter to court. And
but our case, Nigeria's case is different. Nigeria's case is different because the window had closed.
You might say that
the window had closed. Now, what the management would have done, really, if I was in charge, what I would have done is, we have 27 players, 28 players to be invited. Put 6, 7 on standby. Also send the same invitation to the clubs ahead of time, notifying them that just in case these guys might be called up at any time before the tournament starts. But that didn't happen. Well, so if I'm Watford, I would have taken a stand.
Brownson, well, probably because Watford is having a lot of challenges right now. They are losing games, and things don't seem to be going well with them at the EPL right now. But when you look at the fact that even some of the players that got invitation much later, players like Peter Olayinka, players like Emi Onyekuru, these were players that got late invitation, but yet the club released them. Probably the clubs were happy that these players got invitation, and it will
have effect in the clubs. And we'll get some FIFA largesses and all of that.
Absolutely. I think that this probably played a part. But for the case of Emmanuel Dennis, they really have a case, and they adhere strictly. They really made up their mind. They took that stance to ensure that Emmanuel Dennis doesn't come at the end of the day. It's really a big blow for Nigeria, and of course for the COVID as well. It's really having effect on the national teams. Like we said earlier, the Senegalese national team with almost 7-8 players who might not be playing
Yeah.
They might not be starting up with the first two games.
That's a big blow.
But a big blow for them. But we wait to see how things will actually pan out. But for me, I think that if things had gone the way the FIFA president Infantino wanted it, I think that it does not want AFCON to see the light of the day. But for Motsepe, the CAF president, kudos
the tournament had to go on.
Yeah.
So, Kule, another team that suffered a big blow in this tournament has to be the Ivorian national team because their goalkeeper, Sylvain Gboho, is set to miss the African Cup of Nations after being hit with a temporary ban by FIFA over the use of prohibited substance. Now, this was discovered after he submitted his urine sample. And of course, it was discovered that some substance not approved by FIFA was found in his urine. So he's been sent packing from the African Cup of Nations. Sad one must be said.
I think that for players, they have to understand the fact that there's some certain drugs that they are not supposed to take. So I think for the goalkeeper, he should have understood these are drugs that are taken for one particular ailment or the other. Why venture? Why go into that? Is what FIFA is trying to ask him. Why do you have any ailment that will warrant you to take that drug?
No, some of these things are for treatment, and it might just contain some. It shouldn't be.
There's a certain ailment that this particular one is meant for, and that's why FIFA is saying it's not as if you are treating malaria, or if you are treating malaria and typhoid, or all of those soft sicknesses. There are some certain drugs that you take, but this one is meant for one particular ailment. So they don't say any reason, and he has not been able to prove beyond that these are the certain reasons why he took that time. And then this will be a very big blow for the Ivorian national team. The goalkeeper has been in charge. He took over from Barry, I think, on the eve and few days before the commencement of the 2015 African Cup of Nations. Remember the great Barry Abubakar,
yes.
That fantastic goalkeeper for the Ivorians. And he led the team in their quest to win the African Cup of Nations in 2015. And it was his heroic performance that really proved, the big deal, the deal for the Ivorians to win the tournament. So this will be a very big blow for them. And we hope that there is a temporary ban. They are still investigating, and
but I don't think you'll still be part of this AFCON.
No, you can't be the part. It's not going to be. It's been banned from all footballing related activities.
Yeah, not even at club level.
Yeah, not even at club level. So for now, it's just going to wait for the anti-doping FIFA to carry out the investigations, and if he's proven, if he's guilty of all of this, I think that he's going to get a lengthy ban.
All right, that's what it is. Now, let's take a very quick break. When we come back, more stories on the African Cup of Nations to come. Don't go away. Welcome back. Now, let's still stick with the African Cup of Nations. That's the in thing right now in sport. Now, let's look at the opening game of the African Cup of Nations. Very exciting game, must be said. The host nation, Cameroon, left no stone unturned to make their intent very clear to all African nations that they are hosting to win. Now, they made that clear when they had a 2-1 victory over Burkina Faso last Sunday. Now, there were incidents in that game that we'll be talking about right now. Kunle Philip is still with me right now. Kunle, in the 53rd minute of that game, now there was Cameroon scored the third goal, and it was disallowed for offside. The VAR was called to action. Now, VAR is the new thing in football. We all know it's not a new thing, but I was very shocked that it took VAR over 3 minutes to decide if the ball was goal or not. And I'm wondering why it will take that long.
Yeah, Brownson, I think for this is the first time some of these referees, this is the first time they had to work with the VAR. Let's not forget that fact. They would get better as the tournament progresses. And secondly, I think I remember one particular game in it was the German Bundesliga. It was I can't remember those two clubs that played that day, and then one scored a goal, and the game was ongoing. It was ongoing. No, there was a penalty call or thereabout.
Yeah, penalty
and
call.
The game the game kept
Well,
going.
it was given like 4 or 5 minutes
4 or 5 minutes after they came back and and they gave the penalty and the team eventually scored. So I think that we can excuse the African referees for this, because it's the first time some of them are getting to work with the VAR. I believe that as the tournament progresses, it's not really nice when you spend over 2-3 minutes.
Yeah, because I feel it kills the flow of the game.
It kills, definitely. Brown saying the VAR has been killing the flow of the game since its inception. It has its good, its advantages, and it has its shortcomings. I think that the VAR, for some people it favors some countries, and for some it does not favor. Even the question, the incident in question, talking about the Cameroonian third goal. If you ask me, it looks like a legitimate goal, but the VAR thought otherwise. So I think that as the tournament progresses, we'll get to see more dramas, and the referees will begin to get used to working with the VAR.
Now, talking about more dramas, still in the first game, the Ethiopians got an early red card in that game, and that decided how the game ended, in my opinion, because the Cape Verdeans, of course, don't forget that they came to Nigeria, gave us a run for our money, were 1-0 better in that game.
Yeah, 1-0 better. They did very well. The Ethiopians really have themselves to blame. The defender, the player got the ball and he moved. He was very close to the box of the opponent. It was almost like a one-on-one situation, and it was fouled. What happens? There's so many questions about the decision of the referee. Some people have said he could have given him a yellow card, but when you have almost face-to-face with the goalkeeper and you are obstructed, I think it simply means that from what I've seen in the past and from the rules, the FIFA rules, the player should be given a matching order, which really happened, and the referee was on top of his game in that game. And then the Cape Verdeans took advantage. They took the game immediately to the Ethiopians. They attacked ceaselessly, and we know what the Cape Verdeans are capable of doing. I didn't see, I wasn't expecting less from them, and then they gave it their all. They were able to stand their ground, getting the goal, and they cut it away with the 3 maximum points. So Bronson, the group is going to be very tough. As some people said, the Cameroonians didn't play well in that game. Yes, they are excused for not playing well, but the most important thing is to get the 3 maximum points in your opening game, and in subsequent games, you can begin to gel. The players can begin to play together. So the Cameroonians are excused for not playing, fantastic football. If you watch, I knew that the Burkina Fasos were going to give them, the Burkinabes, I beg your pardon, were going to give them a very tough time, which eventually happened. So it remains to be seen the teams that will qualify. And I'm sure that the Cameroonians are going to pull through. I think the battle is going to be between the Burkinabes and the Cape Verdeans.
That's going to be a very crunchy tie, and that will happen when these two teams meet. Welcome back. Now, the African Cup of Nations is still absolutely buzzing, and of course, as we expect more teams to play, let's go out there and support our darling Super Eagles of Nigeria. We have all it takes to win this tournament. Now, let's move straight to the Australian Open, one of the biggest Grand Slam, and is always the first Grand Slam of the year. Big things happening. Now, there's been lots of controversy about Novak Djokovic visa refusal to Australia. As a matter of fact, he landed in Australia, but he was sent back because there's a report that he did not take his second shot of the COVID-19 vaccine, and that has generated lots of controversy. And Kule, it's been shocking to most people that Djokovic, by the way, has equaled Roger Federer. He needs one more Grand Slam, to set new records. And now, some people are not looking at it from the COVID-19 era. There have been lots of analysis that Djokovic has been trying to, that some forces somewhere are trying to franchise him from setting new records in tennis.
I don't share that opinion. I think that there's a lay down rule, the COVID-19 rules that everyone in Australia adheres strictly to. You remember that the Australians were dealt a very big blow in when the eruption of the COVID-19 back then, about 2 years ago or thereabouts. So I think that they are still in pains. People are still getting, they are still getting infected with COVID-19. So there are certain rules that you must adhere to in Australia before you can enter the country. And that is why they are telling Novak Djokovic to take the vaccines. And remember that Novak Djokovic has told some certain set of people that he does not believe in getting vaccinated and all of that. So he needs to get vaccinated. The whole country is in danger. They know exactly what they're doing, and it's not as if it's difficult to get vaccinated. And just the way it's happening in Australia, it's going to happen in other countries too much later. So I think that nobody's trying to disemphasize him from, competing or probably surpassing the record of others, but to do the needful, do the right thing, so that the other participants will not be in danger. That's exactly what they're doing. It's good for himself and also good for the country. So that's why they are. And then the organizers of the Australian Open has come out to, inquire from the government that whether Novak Djokovic will still be allowed to participate, to participate, because they're going to do the pairing, and they want to know whether it will still be allowed. But it's still in the custody of, I think, the immigration, whatever, there. But so I think that nobody's trying to tell Novak Djokovic not to compete, but he needs to do the needful.
Some people also say, what's there to just walk into a clinic and get the second shot? But now this report has it that Novak Djokovic was given no assurance that a medical exemption would allow him into Australia. Now, lawyers fighting to deport the tennis star have argued. Now, the court's filing by lawyer for the Australian government also revealed Djokovic, that's is unvaccinated. Now, one report says that he has one shot, and that report says that he hasn't been vaccinated at all. Now, Australia's COVID before rule, border rule ban non-double vaccinated foreigners. So for you to get into Australia, it is the law. Yeah. You must be double vaccinated. You take the first shot and the second one. And Djokovic's legal team argued a recent infection gives him a valid exception. So, this argument...
What will make you not to be vaccinated is probably when you have health challenges. Some people who have very huge ailments, probably they might not be vaccinated, because when they get vaccinated, they might take its toll on their health, which might lead to death and whatever. But when he doesn't have such ailments, why will he not be vaccinated?
But do you think
that is what the government are saying?
Now, do you think Djokovic's absence will affect the quality of, especially the men angle of Australian Open?
Absolutely, it's going to.
Now, don't forget, he's the 9-time winner.
Champion.
Yeah,
9-time champion of the Australian. So I think that Djokovic is just blowing this issue out of proportion. He's just being scared for nothing. Take the vaccines, and you'll be good to go. It's not there will be a certain time when it will be passed along with, for all the countries, the developed countries, that you might not be able to enter into the country if you are not vaccinated. So I think Djokovic has to understand that if it's an African, I'm not...
No, don't go there. Well, for all Djokovic fans, if you're expecting to see Djokovic at the Australian Open, he might just be hitting the brick wall, as the Australian government has taken their stand that Novak Djokovic would not enter Australia unless he's fully vaccinated. And of course, if the tournament starts, it will give him even a slimmer chance of participating in the tournament. Now, what that means for tennis is that Rafael Nadal is already in the country. He might just get one. Of course, he's currently ranked 6th in the rankings. But without the world number 1, how would that go? Reports, time will tell, I beg your pardon. Also, the female side, some players have dropped out of the Australian Open for some health reasons or the other. And of course, some of them still COVID-related, as some has also contracted. Sports, it will be hard to see quality in sports generally in recent times because of some of these things. Kule, thank you very much for coming on the show today.
Yeah, it's always my pleasure to be here.
All right, with that, the wrap on the show today. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Now, don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms currently displaying on your screen right now. Drop your comments. We'll be so glad to hear from you. On behalf of the production crew, my name is Brownson Uwana. Thank you so much for watching, and do join us again next week. Bye for now.